Good evening, good evening. Thank you for joining us. If you are on this call, the Astrology and Flowers live call on January 16th of 2019. My name is Katie Hess. If you haven't met me yet, I am the founder of LOTUSWEI, the author of the Flowerevolution book, host of the Flower Lounge podcast, founder of the Center of Awakening, which is something that is currently in the works in Phoenix, Arizona. And I've been working with flower essences for over 18 years, and I am so excited to do this call together with Kristina Wingeier.
Hello, happy to be here with you, Katie. I'm Kristina, and I think maybe some of you have heard us on the Moonshine episode. I'm an intuitive astrologer. I live on the Central Coast in California, and I love sharing astrology. I hang out with the ocean and the planets and the stars every day, and I have a lot of joy in sharing this beautiful ancient wisdom from the modern day.
Yeah, so this is going to be like a Moonshine episode. It's just sort of fast forwarding 6 months, and then we're going to include some information about flowers and themes and using them all as platforms of cosmic information for future forecasting. We'll start out by doing a short meditation. And then we'll move into the astrological forecast and a little bit about the limited edition flowers. So wherever you may be, I would just say get into a comfortable position. Can everyone hear me okay? I'm just getting a message in one of the chat windows that someone can't hear me. So I want to make sure that you can. If not, I'll remove these headphones if that makes it any easier. So if you can't hear me, if you can find that little chat button in the lower right-hand corner and just shoot me a little message and let me know that you can't hear me. And if I don't get any messages, I think it's only you, Lisa. Okay. Perfect. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm going to keep rolling like this. Getting into a comfortable position. If you can just sort of make sure that the back of your neck isn't holding any tension, that's kind of a hot spot for most of us. So if you need to tip your chin closer to your chest, you can just open that area up. If you want to close your eyes, you can close your eyes. Otherwise, keep them open, focused on one point in front of you. And we're just going to keep it really simple. This is just a few minutes for you to get in touch with your own body and mind. Bringing your awareness to your physical body. We'll just do a little scan, putting your awareness on the top of your head, your scalp, your hair. What does your hair feel like right now? And then working your way down your forehead and your temples and your eyes. And if you want it to feel like water washing over you, you can. Just sort of releasing some of the tension as it goes by. Putting your awareness on your cheekbones, and your cheeks and your jaw, and down the sides of your face and your ears. All through the front of your neck and your Adam's apple and your lymph nodes, along with the back of your head and the back of your neck. Putting attention and awareness on your shoulders. Notice if you're carrying in your shoulders. Putting awareness on your, what is this bone called? This clavicle bone and your chest. And the back side of your chest and the area in between your shoulder blades, sort of like your heart center in the front and the back. Breathing into that area of your body. And then bringing your awareness further down your diaphragm into your belly, your intestines, your organs, your inner organs, as well as down the back of your spine and your lower back. your kidneys, putting awareness into your hips, your hip sockets, tailbone, your rear end, noticing the pressure of whatever it is you're sitting on, your thighs, all the way down to your knees. Putting awareness in your shins and your calves. Down to your ankles. See what your ankles feel like. And that inner arch part of your foot, the bottoms of your feet, the sides of your feet, pads, balls, and toes of feet. And then you can rest your mind without having to focus on any body part. Just notice your breathing. Notice how sometimes your breathing changes when you put your attention on it. Most things change simply by looking at them. Notice the temperature of the air in your skin. Notice any sounds around you in your environment that you hear and how they move through the space around your body. Noticing your inner landscape. Do you feel calm and settled, anxious, nervous, irritable, tired, relaxed? A combination of any of those. You don't have to change it, just noticing. Noticing with softness and compassion. Bring your attention into the soft and tender place at your heart center. And just take a moment to give yourself credit for all that you do and all that you are. And then just noticing what it feels like to be listening to the sound of my voice, but also aware of the fact that you are tuned into a call where there are countless other people who have this soft and tender place and wish for happiness. And potential for awakening. And we'll just make the intention that we connect on any level possible so that we may say and share and express and experience those things of the highest and purest. And that this call may be fun and insightful. And just slowly moving your fingers and your toes and opening your eyes if your eyes were closed. And if you wish, just take a moment to, if you have a pen and paper, just jot down one sort of theme or question, something that you've been mulling on. Just sort of like what's up in your life right now? What's happening today, this week? Just so that you have that. And maybe by the end of the call, there'll be some sort of insight or illumination or deeper level of awareness around that particular topic. I'm just giving you 10 seconds or so to write that down or reflect on what that is for you. Okay, so as Kristina said, this call came about because we do a monthly moonshine podcast on the Flower Lounge podcast. We have a ton of fun together. And somewhere along the line, we realized that the astrology totally correlated with the flowers that we were choosing for the Flowerevolution program that we do. And so we just thought it would be interesting to have a call. We had one 6 months ago. This is another one. We'll talk at the end of a little bit of the Flowerevolution program. We're super short, but really this call is designed to give you tons of insight and information for the next 6 months astrologically. If you don't want to join the Flowerevolution, no big deal. This call should just be like packed with information so that you walk away super happy. And Kristina and I have not pre-planned anything. We have this little outline, but I don't really understand her notes and she doesn't really understand. She doesn't really understand mine, I don't think either. So this will be a really fun and juicy call. So where should we start, Kristina?
Well, I think we should start by mentioning that we're in eclipse season right now and that there's a really big eclipse coming this weekend. Just like landing us in present time, because that's kind of how the last call came about too, was this bridge, how the flowers can help us bridge these eclipse seasons, which happen every 6 months. And how there's these larger themes that we're working through over 18 months while the eclipses are happening in a certain pair of signs. And so we're in this place, this very transitional place where we're ending out the old cycle of eclipses with an eclipse that's coming in Leo, a total lunar eclipse this weekend. And then we're already started the new cycle with the solar eclipse that happens. So we're in this very liminal time of endings and beginnings right now.
Liminal, that's such a great word.
Yeah, it's very eclipsy. And so this eclipse that's coming up is the last kind of integration point for the last 18 months of your life. Looking in your own natal charts for folks who do that, the Leo Aquarius axis, where those two signs are, those are the parts of your life, of your chart that we're getting activated. And on the collective, this is a very strong invitation to really live very boldly and bravely and courageously from that heart space and to share your unique gifts with other people, with the collective, with the human family. It's really important. We need that so much right now. And so we're having like a last total lunar eclipse in Leo. It's going to be a doozy, and hopefully it can really just activate our hearts even wider and we can shine our heart lights even brighter. That's what I'm hoping.
And that's like Monday, Tuesday, right? Oh, this next week?
Monday.
Sunday.
Yeah. So where I live on the Pacific coast, it starts Sunday evening around, I think it's exact around like 9 or 10 or something. It's a process. The eclipse takes a couple hours. So that's going to put it into early morning hours. It's going to affect us all weekend long and into the week for sure.
Oh, right. Remember we talked about it being like the seasons of your favorite TV show. And so it's like we're just ending one season, right? And we're just another.
And then the new one's already started. So we're kind of like ready to go into the new one, but we have to finish up the last installment, right, of this season. So that's where we're at right now. And then over the next 6 months, we'll be integrating what we're working on this eclipse cycle each month. And then July, which is the last month we'll talk about, we're in eclipse season again. And just as a side note, 2019 has 3 eclipse seasons because we entered the year in eclipse season. We have our eclipse season in July, and then we're going out with an eclipse on the 26th of December. So I feel like it's really interesting because it feels like the eclipse seasons are really linking together 2018, 2019, and 2020 in this kind of way that's kind of unique, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
So I can just talk a little bit about the themes that I'm seeing with the flowers.
Yeah.
And then we can just break it into a month.
Yeah, sure.
So what I can tell, and it's hard for me to forecast probably as well as you can, but what I can tell from the flowers that are popping up is that we are unlearning how to control outcomes of processes and learning how to let things unfold. And that we're mapping a way of bringing our gifts into the world that has a lot to do with inner alignment and our ability to be open to possibilities and to expand our capacity to be open to those possibilities. It's also a lot to do with nourishment, and that being nourished yourself nourishes your vision. That's a big one for me.
Me too.
And it's also kind of like, you know, for anyone who's working on new projects, it doesn't necessarily mean work. It could maybe depend on where things are in your chart as well. But I see it as this time of working with the unknown, just sort of like stepping off the cliff into this like giant chasm of unknown. And you kind of have a feeling that it's amazing, but you kind of also have a feeling that you don't really know what you're doing. And so it's working with those, you know, that's the sensation of like excitement, also like, what am I doing? And figuring it out on the fly, figuring out a new way of existence. So I don't know if that ties in with what you're seeing.
Absolutely. Especially when you were speaking about unlearning how to control outcomes and this nourishment and this inner alignment, that is, I feel like, so aligned with the eclipse cycle, with the nodes, the South Node in Capricorn, asking us to let go of outer authorities and outworn power structures and things like that, with the North Node in Cancer, that emotional self-reliance, that emotional authenticity and connection and letting things flow and unfold, and nourishment is so important archetype with that sign. So most definitely that. And then of course, Uranus is moving into Taurus for 7 years, and that's going to bring huge changes, and we don't know what that looks like at all. So there's that feeling of like anything's possible, but what's going to happen, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So just a few things that pop
anything's
out.
possible, but anything's possible.
Exactly. And you know, there's a lot of like really dire predictions out there as well with things, as always. You know, there's always the, you know, folks that use this as a way to bring up fear in people, but I think it's always an opportunity for growth and expansion and evolution. And that's what we have to stay aligned in and stay connected with.
We love that.
Yeah. So yeah.
Cool. So should we jump into February?
Okay, let's jump into February. Okay. So February, we are going to be, you know, finishing eclipse season and really the first month of this integration. So we'll have the new moon in Aquarius pretty early in the month on the 4th. And I feel like that new moon will really help us get this kind of genius, like eagle eye view of the terrain we just covered, so that we can start to weave it into the fabric of our being. Okay. There's a fair amount, it's kind of gets to start to be a little bit of a heavier energy. Venus moves into Capricorn that month. And so whenever planets are going into Capricorn or Cancer, they're going to be encountering, especially Capricorn, a lot of heavy hitting energy with Saturn and Pluto on the South Node. And so there's going to be this feeling of kind of like a little more maybe melancholy or heaviness potentially with Venus. So that's one factor. Mercury's getting ready to go into a retrograde in March, and we'll go into Pisces. And these are places that these planets aren't always super happy. It's a little more confusing, but we're going to, you know, flip the script, of course. And Mars is in Aquarius, helping us like activate the visions. And Chiron moves into Aries. So Chiron's completing a cycle and starting a new long cycle as well. So there's a lot of shifts and changes with planets. We're kind of integrating. We get this visionary quality. And then we have this super moon in Virgo. That's like, how do we actually do it? How do we streamline it? How do we organize it? Right? You know, because we get the big visions, we get the big ideas, but how do you bring it down into the mundane world and like make it of service and bring it forward?
That sounds good. I can just tell you that for February, we have a really cool flower planned, and it's the Venus flytrap. It's the very first carnivorous plant we've worked with.
I love that. I'm so excited to try that. I'm really attracted to it.
And it sounds a little bit like the Mars and Aquarius theme. It's like electric action. If you just like even think about the Venus flytrap, you know, that it's just like statically there until the fly lands and it closes. So it's all about like focusing on our most important priorities. And when that opportunity comes up, being really electric about your action and like jumping on that opportunity when it comes your way and making sure that your actions match your priorities. It's not the kind of time that, and I'm just going to start talking as if like the flower is giving me some kind of indication for the future and hope that that works. I would say it's not the time to go out and search for things. It's more like the time to just be really, really still and wait. And then when that right thing comes, you'll know it, you'll feel it, it'll electrify you, and then you just jump on it because it just matches up and all the conditions are right. So make February the month that you don't get stuck in busyness or busy work, that you can allow yourselves a little bit more stillness to create the right kind of conditions to be open to jump on something when it comes to you. Does that match up at all with the astrology, Kristina?
It does, and what it makes me think of is this particular aspect I wanted to speak about, which is on February 13th. I'll double check that. Yes, which is a Wednesday. Mars is still in Aries. Did I say Mars enters Aquarius? Mars is in Taurus. I lied. Wait a minute. So Mars is not going to be doing what I said.
Never mind.
I'm so sorry, but no, we'll make this work, because this Mars and Aries making this conjunction with Uranus in the last degrees of Aries is this like catalyst to like, there's been something happening over the last 7 years in the Aries part of your life, right? This is where Uranus has moved through. Like for me, it's my career house. My career totally changed in the last 7 years. So everybody has some area of their life where big changes happen. And this moment with Mars and Uranus hooking up is this electrical moment that may ignite some hot heads and people acting out, but it also is going to like activate this last bit of change that you need to make. You're going to have this opportunity to kind of like, oh, this is what I need to do to fully integrate this medicine of this Uranus in Aries so that I can move forward in my life. So that is, I feel like, totally in line. And I'm sorry I misguided everyone with the Mars and Aquarius. I don't even know where I got that. But
oh, no, that's okay. So you're saying, just to make sure I understand you correctly, this is like the culmination of the last 7 years of the Uranus story. And if, yeah?
Well,
right?
Yeah, Uranus is moving in March into Taurus, but this Mars coming by, Mars is an activating force. And it's just like piercing it and kind of like, if Uranus is this lightning bolt of energy, Mars is coming by with like the whatever qualities you need to make the lightning strike really loud, and just really bright. It's just kind of like that electrical kind of connection. And so that may feel like that moment where you've been really still. It's been a little heavier. Mercury is in Pisces, Venus is in Capricorn. You're like, and then, whoa, okay, this is what I need to do. You get this download. So I would look for it mid-month, right?
Ooh,
Yeah.
Ooh, nice. Okay,
Yeah.
so we get the first 2 months to be really still and aligned, and then we get zapped near this.
And then we get zapped, and then Mars moves into Taurus, and it's like, how do you do that in the real world then? Because I feel like, again, we're invited into not just ideas and inspirations, but how can we take these things and channel them and put them into the world, 3D reality, right? It's really important.
Yes. So, okay, so if folks are curious about what that means, they can look at their own personal charts. Of course, they could book a session with you if they want to know everything about their own natal chart. Otherwise, they could look up where Uranus is in their chart to see sort of
I would say just look where Aries is in your
where
chart.
Aries.
Look at the very last bit of Aries. It'll be at 29 degrees, the very last degree of Aries, because that's where Uranus is. Uranus is about to make a big move in March, and Mars on the way into Taurus is like pinging Uranus. And so that ping is like a catalyst to kind of invite you into some kind of like last little bit of something to do or a
And
realization.
what about 7 years of and to come?
Hmm?
What about the understanding the next 7 year cycle? Like
We'll
about
talk
what?
about that in March. Are we ready to go to March? Are we in
Yes.
March? Okay.
Let's go.
All right. So March. So Uranus moves into Taurus in March, very, very early in March, actually, March 6th. So pretty soon. And I guess with the new moon as well. That's pretty powerful, new moon in Pisces with Uranus moving. So this is a new 7-year cycle in your life. Uranus is a big change maker. It's all about kind of like radical authenticity. It is changes, unexpected changes, and you have to kind of find new equilibrium and find new ways of doing that part of your life. So I would invite everybody to look at the Taurus area of their life to get an idea of what part of their life is being invited to change. And if there's any planets there, those planets are going to get this Uranus kind of activation during this 7 years. And for us as a collective, you can, it's an interesting cycle because Uranus is very lightning quick and very, very activating. And Taurus is, fixed earth. It's like the least likely to want to have this kind of electrical, active, changing energy. So it's could be potentially destabilizing, but I feel like it's this like radical authenticity and embodiment somehow for each of us. Like it feels like that. And then areas that will be activating are money and finances, for sure. These are Taurus realms. Food production, agriculture, women's liberation. Venus is the ruler of Taurus, so the women's movement and women's freedom. And these are all things that, if you look at prior Uranus and Taurus cycles, were themes that were happening when Uranus was in Taurus. So you can really study these long cycles of time with astrology, which is pretty interesting.
How about earthquakes? We got a little preview last time when it dipped in, right?
We had the volcano on Hawaii. Yeah, no, climate change, major Earth stuff, actually. Yeah, lots of Earth things.
Yeah, it was really interesting. Christine and I were texting each other during that time that it just moved into Taurus, kind of tipped its little toe in, and the volcano started, and then it left, and the volcano stopped. So that was pretty interesting.
Exactly. And I think that when Uranus moved into Aries, it was very close to Fukushima, actually. Yeah. So, I mean, it's powerful. It's a very big shift. And that month, not only is that happening, but we're having a Mercury retrograde, our first Mercury retrograde of the year, the first planet to go retrograde after 2 months of all the planets direct. And I think it might be a little confusing because Mercury can get a little watered down in Pisces. It has these conjunctions with Neptune, which can be a little disorienting. But also, I just feel like it's a month for really inner deep dreaming and like diving really deep and dreaming a new dream. I was thinking dream catching with Mercury retrograde in Pisces.
Ooh, I love that. That's so good. That's so good.
Yeah.
Okay, can I talk about the fern?
Please talk about the fern. Yes.
Okay, so in March we're working with a fern, and It sounds like what you were talking about, in the sense that it's helping us unfold our vision from within. So rather than look at the way other people have done things, it's like, how could I do this a completely different way, a way that is totally foreign to even myself, that will just magically unfold from inside of me. And I know you and I were talking about, Kristina, about the Marie Kondo before we jumped on the call. For some reason, we both just started watching it last night. I watched, I think, 20 minutes.
I watched about 20 minutes too. That's all I had time for.
Right before I went to bed.
I watched it before this.
I love that woman so much. I was telling Kristina before this call, I just listened to her and I just like weep. I like hear the like whole American drama story and they're crying and dramatic and I'm like, yeah, whatever. But I just hear her speak and I'm like, oh my God, she's so pure. But it's interesting because like you were saying before, there's this is the theme, right? Like our culture, there's a huge Netflix show. Who would have guessed that there would be a massive Netflix show around tidying up your house or decluttering, from a woman who doesn't, who speaks Japanese, to have a translator. So how that ties in March with the fern is, in the same way that having you go through your closets and look for things that spark joy. It's like that, training ourselves to really be deeply aware of what it is that is like unfurling like a fern or unraveling from within us, and staying rooted in who we are, but also kind of continually going towards that spark, continually moving towards joy. And Marie Kondo is just brilliant, because I think she's not even really teaching about, she is teaching about tidying, but she's actually teaching us how to move toward more joy in our life and everything we do, and be more discriminating about what we do with our time here on this planet. And so March and the fern is about unraveling that sort of vision from within, or sourcing from within yourself, and allowing something to unfold without very much effort.
I love that. I think that's perfect. I really think that's going to blend, help us integrate this very different energy of Uranus and Taurus and this Mercury retrograde, which can be a little murky Mercury. And that when you said something about anchoring into your body or rooting in like that, really that is where the genius lives. And that's where it can unfurl from that place. And so I think that it's a really nice compliment. I like it. Perfect. There's a supermoon, the third supermoon, full moon on the 20th. It's in Libra. And we're going to have two full moons in Libra back to back, March and April, because the first full moon in Libra is in very, very early Libra. And then the second full moon in Libra is in very, very late Libra. And that happens every now and again in the lunar cycle, where you have two lunations that are in the same sign. It doesn't happen very often. So it's kind of cool, I think. You get to really that Libra part of your life, whatever that is really going to get a lot of action in March and April.
Is it fair to say that it was like harmony and closer relationships and
beauty? Yes. And justice and truth and justice, like in the collective, and yes, harmony, relationships for sure. And I feel like it ties into the Marie Kondo as well, because when I watch her folding these clothes, it's such this work of art. It's so beautifully curated and organized, and it doesn't have to be hard. It can be this really simple beauty. I also was looking at this little feng shui book, Holistic Spaces, 108, and it's kind of like that. It's this really beautiful, simple beauty. Also, the Marie Kondo kind of clearing out is very much in line with the South Node in Capricorn. We're really being invited to kind of minimalize and prune the excess to really get to the gold and the things that spark joy and that really fill us with authenticity and pleasure and connection.
I love that. I was so surprised when I was interviewing this woman, Vanessa Rodriguez, on the podcast recently, like I think two episodes ago, and she works with people with functional nutrition. And I thought it was so fascinating, because when she works with the first question she asked them, not about food, diet, not about exercise, not about, weight loss goals, not about nutrition goals. Her first question is, where in your life do you need to clear clutter? Because we can't really start this process until that's cleared. So I thought that's kind of interesting.
So fascinating. I 100% agree. You have to clear the clutter. You have to make way for the new. Also, like, it's just like a space issue. You can't find things when there's too much clutter. There's no space for the new seeds to take root, so it's pretty practical, which is also very Capricorn, practical.
Cool. Okay, so April.
All right, so April, the pace is going to pick up a little bit after a little bit of a slow, soggy kind of, but with Uranus and Taurus, so we're like, April's kind of a fun month, actually. I feel like it's one of the more fun months of the year, just astrologically speaking. So Mercury will get out of retrograde at the end of March. We will start to enter into the outer planet retrograde season, which is normal. It happens all the time, every year. So Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto are all going to go retrograde. And so there's going to be some revisions and reviews in the Capricorn and Sag areas in your life, right? Just it's that time. And the new moon is on April 4th. It's in Aries, which Mercury and Venus will be in that month. So there's a lot of Aries energy, that activating, fiery, kind of fire starting kind of energy.
Pioneering,
exactly. Bold. And then the second full moon in Libra happens. So we have more of that Libra energy to work with. And there is this Sun conjunct Uranus. It happens once a year, and that's a pretty electrifying moment. And it's happening on Earth Day, which I think is really interesting because Taurus is so much about the earth. And so I feel like it's an invitation to just activate some earth activism, where you pick up trash or plant a tree or, just do something nice for the earth. She does so much for us. And, it could be a day where people get a little hot under the collar or really kind of a lot of crazy energy and like grounded and like give back to the mother. I mean, she gives us so much. So I feel like that's a nice thing to consider to do with some of that energy. So it's just kind of like an activating, more upbeat kind of month after a more slower and meandering and retrograde-y, Mercury retrograde-y kind of March.
Dreamy, yeah. Unearthing your dreams from the closet, and then you come out into a springy possibility. I hear you talk about Earth Day and the gifts from Mother Earth. I think about like the incredible abundance that we experience. Like if you just look at the way things grow and the way, it grows, and it will give you more fruits to eat for your family. That there's always just so much abundance that one tree will produce enough oxygen for 2 people instead of 1. So there's just like always extra. There's always more. And for flowers in April, we have the sweet pea, which is about possibilities and rewiring that part of you or those patterns that might have a little bit of blocks towards what's possible. Keep like expanding your mind, very, very open, keeping you adaptable, forward thinking, dissolving any poverty mentality, not just around money, but around, what's possible. And really bringing in just this like expansive space of wild freedom of what's coming. And sweet pea is actually one of those flowers that's really good. It's kind of like peony in that it's sort of like the quintessential money flower. I thought it was really interesting. Once when I was in New York City, we were grabbing flowers for an event, just like piling things on as we do. And then our friend Simon, who works at this flower shop, will kind of come behind me and like take things off the pile. And the last time we were there, he took this like big bundle of like beautiful pink sweet pea flowers off the pile, and he was like, I don't think you want those. That's like a little bundle like this. You said that we fly those in from Japan. They're $75 for a little tiny bouquet.
Oh my God.
So,
whoa.
Yeah, so they're very
I mean, they
simple.
grow everywhere. I mean, they're sweet peas.
Right, but then somehow, like in flower shops, it's kind of a rarity. So grow them in your gardens, and it's a great sort of flower medicine for abundance, possibilities, forward thinking, dissolving. Oh, we all have that little desire to be right about things. It just softens that and really like opens up a million possibilities.
That'll be helpful with Mercury and Venus and Aries, because I mean, the pioneering is there, but there's also the headstrong, whenever we get any kind of strong fire energy,
Yeah.
and so that'll be nice to help with that. That's beautiful. Look at your farmer's market too for sweet peas. I always find them at the farmer's market for like $3 a little bouquet.
Ooh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Good tip. Go to the farmer's market.
Farmer's market. Yeah. Alrighty. So then we'll move into May, and May, we have a new moon in Taurus, May 4th, and that's a Venus moon, right? So that's a nice, Taurus new moons and full moons are usually very delicious because Taurus is very five senses and all the lovely things, and it's sensual, feels like chocolate, and long baths and massages and all the things. Whenever the moon goes into Taurus now for the next 7 years, we've got Uranus there, so it's a little different. It's a funny match, Uranus and Taurus. They're kind of polar opposite, so they got to figure out a way to work together. So we do have that quality for this new moon. Full moon's in Scorpio, May 18th. Scorpio, so we got some intense lunations this month. I love our Scorpios. And there is Mercury moves pretty quickly, moves through Taurus and Gemini this month. So we have a lot of like grounded kind of practical talks. And then we get into Gemini, where we just have a lot of ideas. Yeah, a lot of ideas, a little hummingbird energy. Venus moves into one of her signs, into Taurus, right? So she'll have an encounter with Uranus, and then she'll be in her pleasure garden for a while. And a little bit of trouble starts when Mars moves into Cancer, because when the planets move into Cancer, they're going to be opposite Capricorn, and they're going to be like opposite Saturn and opposite Pluto and opposite the South Node.
What does that mean?
That's just a lot of challenges. There's challenges. Put it that way. It's challenges. And because, first of all, whenever the planets are in Cancer and Capricorn, they're activating the eclipse axis. So anything that's coming up for eclipses, any of your big lessons in these 18 months, it's happening. Basically, also, if you're a Capricorn or a Cancer sun sign, moon sign, rising sign, you're in for a wild ride this year. I'm a Cancer rising, and like all the astrology is messing me up, but it's okay. I'm going to flip it and make it work. So it's just crunchy. These are, in traditional astrology, they're called the malefics. They're kind of like the bad guys. They're the harder planets to like navigate their energies, because they're about, Saturn's about taking things away and making things like more restrictive, to kind of prune the tree. And Pluto is about deep transformation, which can be kind of painful sometimes. And, Cancer is very sensitive. Mars in Cancer, we're feeling very sensitive and having this Mars-Saturn opposition, and Saturn will be on the South Node, like draining, asking you to clear and let go. And Cancer's like, I don't want to let go. I want all my things. So, it's kind of like that starts to kick up in May. And it is what it is. There's a beautiful Mercury Cazimi in May. We love our Mercury Cazimis. Mercury's direct. It's in Gemini. I feel like it's on, I think, the 21st. And that's like a great day to get
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, for the folks who don't listen to, you're probably going there, but for the folks who don't listen to our Moonshine podcast, if you could just talk a little bit more about a Cazimi. I love that word.
Cazimi is just a really fun word. It basically means an exact conjunction. So it's when Mercury and the Sun are going to be like exactly lined up. And when they do that, it's like you get the planet that has the Cazimi gets this clarification and kind of this gift. It's said that the planet has the ear of the king, so it can make a wish or kind of get a download, like a conscious download. And so it's just a kind of a golden moment. I love the Kazimis, and it's nice to kind of look for the golden moment that day, like, you know, be prepared for it or invite it in, and allow something wonderful to come through.
I love that. Well, that month we are working with this brilliant plant called meadow cabbage. And if anyone is ever in Vancouver in the springtime in British Columbia, you'll see this plant. I was like shocked the first. It is just fascinating. So it's after winter, and it's right about the time that all the bears are waking up from hibernation, and they're hungry bears. So they eat this plant that looks like, you know what a forest looks like when it's just after winter and it's still kind of, skeleton-y. And there are these huge plants that look like, they almost look like massive bok choy or these massive cabbage plants, like everywhere. It's so bizarre. Like thick and lush and green, almost like a tropical plant. And they have these huge stamen, and if you touch it, it turns into this massive cloud of pollen. And so the quality of this particular flower is all about nourishment and feeding your vision, gaining traction, gaining some momentum, and also dissolving any patterning that we have around running ourselves into the ground, depletion, running on fumes or burning the candle at both ends, and bringing in sort of a new life after the storm, or like a nourishment, and really embracing nourishment.
That's very Cancerian, to embrace the nourishment. And I think that when there are challenges, it is like so important to continue to nourish, right, and feed the vision, and not let all of that get you distracted and off path, as it can, right, and just to really pull it back in, and use that Mars in Cancer energy to really create good emotional boundaries for yourself, so that you can stay focused and present with what's important to you and what really feeds you. Right? Because that's going to help you, and Marie Kondo it. Like, if it's unnecessary and it's excess, it's going to be a lot of really beautiful opportunities to let things go. And it's, again, I'm a Cancer rising. We like our things. I like to do road trips because I can pack my car full of stuff. I mean, I'll just admit it, So it can be hard, but it will really make room for so much more. And so it really is connecting with the things that really are important. And your vision is certainly one of those things, right?
So what's going on in June? Can I share about the flower first on this one? Because I'm just really curious.
Yeah, go.
Okay, so June, we're working with desert milkweed. This is a plant that I collected some time ago, and pretty much almost had a panic when I was collecting it.
You had a what? A panic attack?
Almost. I mean, I was just freaking out on the inside, about getting caught or something. It was like, essentially the plant was showing me the imbalance side, which is about persecution, about, someone's out to get you. And so this particular flower comes in June to help us work through that kind of patterning of, blame, or really like worrying about what others, most subtle levels, worrying about what others think. And it brings us into a position of really, really viscerally feeling on every level that we live in a benevolent world, that we live in a friendly place, that everything is just fine, that the conditions are totally right for what we're up to, and that we can just keep going forward because there's no opposition, even if it's perceived.
There's no opposition, even if it's perceived. That is, that's going to be such a good plant for June, because June is a pretty crunchy month. And there's 1 week in particular where it's like major crunch, from like the 14th to the 21st. And it's because of all these oppositions that are happening. So that's pretty perfect. And it may feel persecution. You may feel like things are coming from outside to get you on the inside. And it really is that, we're getting close to eclipse season, and that whole axis is getting activated, and that invitation to invite in an inner authority and not tune into so much the outer kind of where we come at things from the outside in, but more from the inside out, and not listening to all of that and letting this be the guidance system. So, and also Venus will be disappearing from the sky at the end of June, and she'll be gone out of the sky for like 2 months as she goes into this very deep underworld journey, switching skies in her cycle. And so that's also, as Venus underworld, it's not a retrograde, but it is invisible to us. And it can be kind of a journey of a process of uncovering stuff from deep within as well, so it's going to be really important to be able to trust your environment and to really create an environment of trust, right? By choosing to be around folks who you feel like you can be safe and trust and talk to and connect with, and getting away from situations that, as much as you can, that don't support that.
Right. And situations that appear to be oppositional could, if you just sort of like spaciously sit with them and come back calmly, it might actually transform very, very quickly and work on your behalf for your benefit. So anything else?
Opposition energy is a full moon energy, because that's when the sun and the moon are opposite each other. So that's like just an example of what that feels like energetically. Like it can feel very tense and it can feel like a lot of pressure, but ultimately something is revealed if you can be with that instead of like trying to escape it or run away from it. You can learn so much and see something new under that light of that full moon, right?
Yeah. Anything else for June that we should be aware of?
Well, Neptune's going to go retrograde, which is normal. And just, planets move. Mercury's pretty quick, moving in Cancer, and then Leo, getting ready for another retrograde. Mercury does go retrograde 3 times a year. So when Mercury gets into Leo, Mercury will go retrograde the next month and back into Cancer. So there's that, just to start to prepare for. And I guess I will leave it at that.
And if Neptune goes retrograde, does that mean we enter that world of confusion and illusion? I mean, could that also tie into like illusorily seeing things as dangerous when in fact they're not?
Well, I think that Mercury in Cancer, because it'll be opposite all that Capricorn energy, could totally activate that. And Mercury will be retrograde in Cancer next month. So it could be kind of preloading that or previewing some of that. So,
right.
Yeah. I also didn't mention the new and full moon. The new moon is in Gemini on June 3rd, and the full moon is in Sagittarius on June 17th. And so those are both pretty, as far as moons go, they're pretty expansive and fun kind of full moon. So, new and full moon. So, hang out with people that you enjoy to be around, because it'll be lively.
Yay. Okay. And then the last month of the 6-month series, July.
Which puts us into eclipse season, which we'll be entering eclipse season at the end, in June, later June. But the first eclipse is a new moon solar eclipse on July 2nd, total solar eclipse, not visible from here. But I just read today that it is the longest solar eclipse in 6 years. So it has a lot of power and amplification. I believe it's, did they say over almost 5 minutes of eclipsed sun? That's a long, not quite 5 minutes. So that just speaks to the amplification of that lunation. And then the full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn on the 16th. So we're in eclipse season. We're full on in the Cancer Capricorn cycle. The seeds that we're sowing right now, the things that we started at the beginning of the year and all of that, are starting to come to fruition, because it's the full moon that is in Capricorn. We had the new moon in Capricorn. So there's definitely, that's a time to check in with whatever it is you're kind of laying the groundwork for right now. We'll also have a third new moon on July 31st or August 1st, depending where you live. So it's like a 3 lunation month, which is pretty big. And we have the Mercury retrograde. There's a lot going on in July. It's going to be a busy month.
And so just remind me again when, in terms of this season, this TV season that we're working on with this eclipse season.
Which installment?
Yeah. Tell me about this July installment. What will we be experiencing with this Capricorn dynamic?
Well, we'll be fully...
South Node, North Node. Right?
Yeah, so the sun will be in Cancer. So it will be the Cancerian side of things. The new moon, like we had the new moon eclipse in Capricorn. Now it's going to be Cancer's side of the story, right? So there's that, what is as an opposition there of a shift in the where the focus is. It's focusing on the North Node. So it's focusing on where we're growing into, right? It's what we're moving toward. Whereas the lunar eclipse will be on the South Node, right? So what we're letting go of and what we're shedding. It'll be the second eclipse season of 3 in this larger eclipse cycle that goes until May of 2020, right? So it'll be kind of the middle installment. We started something, we're kind of working on it, and then we'll be completing it December and January with the eclipses that happen. And does that answer your question?
Yeah. And I think so. So, and then remind me, so like as we're moving towards North Node and moving away from South Node, like what that means in terms of what we would either experience or be letting go of or moving towards.
So in general, the North Node is what we're moving towards. Like in the nodal pairing, the North Node is the head of the dragon. It's moving and kind of going forward towards, and in Cancer, it's that emotional connection, that nourishment, that emotional self-reliance, that kind of energy. Finding safety within yourself instead of having to like fear the outside world and get all like weird about things. Cancer is very concerned with security and safety and home, right? Your home, they're thinking about the home that you're creating and the home that you live in. And the South Node is always about kind of what's letting go, what we're releasing. And so the emphasis with the sun is going to be on the North Node, whereas the emphasis this eclipse that just happened in January 5th was on the South Node. So it's kind of like that. And collectively, we're moving towards that inner authority, away from the outer authorities and old structures of power that don't work, old authority systems, things like that. In your chart, you want to look at that Cancer Capricorn axis and see, are there planets there? Are there angles there? What part of the chart is it lighting up? So that you understand kind of what's up for you, because it's very individual for everybody depending on where it's happening in your chart.
Right. But I definitely think and relate to and just in terms of the flowers, the moving towards inner authority and away from outer authority. This whole series seems a lot like that. In July, we're working with the California Glory flower. It's this big yellow, bright flower that grows on a tree. And it's about having a powerful voice, about letting it all out, about burying your wild, freeing yourself. And it will dissolve any sort of power around I can't, I want, and really just like unabashedly allow us to fully and completely be ourselves. So those are really good for singing, vocal arts, communication, expression, expressing yourself with a bigger presence to a bigger audience. So maybe something that you're planning now, 6 months from now, you be expanding that out and talking about it or expressing it to people. Would that make sense?
Well, yeah. And especially with the Mercury retrograde, because we're always working with voice and communication with the Mercury retrograde. Mercury goes retrograde in Leo, conjunct Mars, which is kind of intense. And then we'll move into Cancer during the retrograde. So we'll have a lot of work, especially in that Leo, being able to speak and be seen, right? And to find your voice and to find what it is you have to share. And then moving into Cancer, it's more nourishing your voice, right? Things like that. So I believe that will be very supportive for that Mercury retrograde and just eclipse season, because things get crunchy in eclipse season. It gets hard to communicate sometimes. When the retrograde and an eclipse season, it just compounds things, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So if we were going to recap and you do like an astrological recap themes for 6 months, and then I do a flower themes, what would you say for this chunk of this 6-month period of time?
I would say that there is a strong emphasis on really pruning and releasing and clearing things that weigh you down to make way for more joy and connection in your life. And that whole like inner authority versus outer authority thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would say it's an important time to really assess the foundations that you're building on. And if there's any cracks in the pavement, to repair them so that you really have, very grounded foundations in general to build on long term. I would say it's important to keep hope alive when the going gets rough, and really this awakening and authenticity in the body is very important with this new Uranus in Taurus cycle.
Yeah, that's so interesting, because I feel like, personally, I've been going through just getting a little tiny taste of this, and I feel like more becoming a parent in terms of this unlearning how to control things and learning how to feel your way through things. Just like going through your closet, feeling what brings you joy and what you want to let go of. And, just personal example, being in charge of this building and having all these visions and concepts that we want to roll out, and really not being able to, plan every little part of it and have it all by a deadline. It's more like just allowing it to emerge in the right timing and the right steps wants to emerge. And so I look at that as sort of, a greater theme that all of us may be experiencing. And I love what you said about activating that or experiencing that in your body. Because, so many times we can, we're at like a decision-making point. Like, I feel like I should do this, but I really also kind of want to do this. And just simply by like tuning in with your body, you can feel the difference and feel your way into what's going to be the next step for you. So in terms of the flowers and their superpowers for the next 6 months, and just using that as a platform to see what might be happening, we have February as electric action and right timing, March as unfolding your vision from within, April as being wide, the widest you can be, open to possibilities and open to abundance. May is nourishment, traction, momentum, making sure you're nourishing yourself as much as your vision. June, trusting your environment and trusting that the world is a friendly place and open to what you're creating. And July, this bear all sharing your powerful, wild nature. So is there anything else that you want to add, Kristina?
Just the vision, the image I just got, I haven't even seen this California glory plant, but when you said the bearing all and sharing your wild nature, and you said it was a big yellow flower, I just saw this lion, because of the Leo energy and that mane and just that, I saw the roar. So I don't know, but that came from so deep within. It was such a roar of joy. I don't know.
Yeah, joy is totally it. I remember collecting this flower, and there were a few of us together, and we just started laughing hysterically. That kind of laugh that you just almost feel like embarrassed. It's so hysterical and messy.
I do, and you start crying or you can't breathe.
Snorting.
You're like laughing. Yeah.
Cry. Yeah.
The best kind.
So that's what's coming.
Awesome. I'm excited.
I'm excited. It sounds like a great 6 months.
Yeah, so I think just speaking firsthand as a very intuitive, empathic astrologer who feels everything, I just know that the Flowerevolution and these elixirs and these sprays and all these beautiful gifts from the earth via LOTUSWEI are so helpful to me. They help me so much be able to work with what's coming and not be beaten up by it. So
Yeah,
thank you
okay.
for creating these beautiful gifts.
Oh my gosh, it's huge. I know. I feel the same way, and we make them. I feel like there's such a huge support for what's going on. So I hope that all of you got a ton of good information on this call, and that you're able to take some notes on what's happening from now until July. If you loved this conversation and you're not yet tuned into our Moonshine podcast, Kristina and I release on the first of every month a new sort of way more in-depth forecast on each month, and Kristina goes way into depth on dates and all kinds of things. She also has a ton of really cool programs that I would check out, where she even goes even deeper. So
go deep, baby.
Go deep. If you're not following Kristina Wingeier on Instagram, check her out. Kristina Wingeier is her handle, and your website too, right? So if there are any parts of this call that you want to revisit or that you feel like you missed and you wanted to jot down, we're going to be sending out the recording tomorrow. And then for those of you who are interested in the Flowerevolution flowers, if you are interested in joining, make sure you do that before February 14th. That way we'll be able to send you the first elixir, which is the Venus flytrap. This is such an interesting, can I just say, it's like, because you're into my plant nerdiness, Kristina.
Oh, I'm a total plant nerd.
So the Venus flytrap grows in the wild in North Carolina, but it's like extremely rare for it to bloom when it's in cultivation, right? So like if you bring a plant home, you'll almost never, you'll never see it flower. Or if you look at photographs of Venus flytrap, just even look up stock imagery.
No, I've never seen a flower. I have no idea what it looks like.
You can't find the flower anywhere.
Yeah.
So, and it's also a felony to pick them in North Carolina. So,
whoops.
So this particular flowerescence came from a plant that was in cultivation that I had at my house for some time, and it actually bloomed, which was like a total miracle. So I took advantage and made a flowerescence out of it.
Of course it did. It bloomed in your house. That makes total sense. I love that.
It's a great way to jumpstart the year. And it just will help us snap into action when the right opportunities come our way, and making sure our actions match our priorities for the year. So if you are interested in joining Flowerevolution, every month you get a new elixir. And along with that elixir, we send out also practices. I do a recording every week on my phone about things that are coming up and insights. We send out information about the flowers with photos and historical context. We're sending out a 30, like a half mist size every single month with every elixir to help support whatever is going on. And we do a monthly meditation practice and a bunch of other things that you can discover if you go to the website. The whole 6-month program is $497, but we also have a monthly payment plan, so you can just pay month by month if you prefer. I've seen all of the elixirs that are ready for the next 6 months, and they're super beautiful. The colors are just delicious. So if you're interested in more information, you can find that at lotuswei.com/flowerevolution. I want to thank you, Kristina, for being on this call. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure. It's always fun to chat with you, Katie.
Very fun. We get really goofy on the Moonshine podcast. We keep it a little serious for these live calls, but
we're so serious.
We've been known to do some weird accents and crazy things on the
make up words.
Yeah. On the Moonshine podcast. So definitely please join us the first of the month in the Flower Lounge podcast. Hope that you got a ton of valuable content out of this call. Oh, and we will also be doing a Moonshine event in springtime in Phoenix. More details to come. Stay tuned. So Kristina will be involved, and she will come to Phoenix. So
that's right. Coming to Phoenix.
Yeah, come to the desert. So
yay. I'm so excited. I can't wait to see your space.
It's going to be amazing. You all are welcome. We'll be sending out details soon. And all of you for joining us this evening, thank you so much for spending time. Really, really appreciate you and your presence here. Even if we can't see you, or we can feel you. Again, information on Flowerevolution on our website. And thank you so much for being here, and have a wonderful evening. Thanks again, Kristina.
Thank you, Katie. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone. Sleep well, rest well.